Hello everyone, I'm Jim Ohako, President of Arizona Cattle Growers Association. I would like to welcome you today to the 112th Annual Convention here in Tucson. I think it's going to be one of our banner conventions that we've ever had. Today, I would like to talk to you about some of the issues confronting the cattle growers, what we've been working on in the past year. I think all in all, we've had a good year, and I think we've made some good headway on many issues. The water issues, the wolf issues, in the legislature, the state legislature, we've had some good bills that were passed and signed by the governor. Those kind of things are important, and we believe that we're headed in the right direction.
When I first got involved, it was a little bit before Cattle Free in '93 and the grazing fee battles. And I felt like that by being involved and volunteer with other volunteers at Arizona Cattle Growers and Public Lands Council, that we could effectively try and tell our message to the influencers out there. And through that, I went on to leadership in Arizona Cattle Growers through, I would say, the involvement in federal land issues is the bulk of it. And I've been to a jillion meetings and listened to all the different groups out there that tell you they represent the cattle industry. But at the end of the day, when you're sitting in a room with the Forest Service or a BLM person or Fish and Wildlife Service, I've yet to see those other folks put the time and effort in there to make a difference. And I learned over time that without those relationships and the ranchers actually telling their story, backing it up with facts, but to some degree it's still the people business. And to me, I felt like without that people side of it, that we were never going to change the tide that was ahead of us.
We've worked on border security, water issues throughout the state, San Pedro, and down in Cochise County, and other water issues. Also, we have worked on property rights, funding for the U of A vet school. This was a huge success. At least now we'll have a school in Arizona that will produce veterinarians.
I've worked with the cattle growers for a lot of years now, over 30 years. We've done a lot of educational programming in Arizona. We started a workshop called Range Management 101. Cattle growers were totally involved in that the whole time. We probably did 50 of those programs. Another really important program we've been doing in Arizona for a long time is the rangeland monitoring. The cattle growers have been involved in that from the very beginning as well. They helped us, more recently, they helped us publish a manual for range monitoring techniques and protocol that we use and most of the agencies use as well in Arizona. My relationship with the association has really given credibility to my programming throughout the state of Arizona.
Also, I'd like to say that the Arizona Cattle Growers Association has helped you members, not only on state issues within the state, but on the national level. We work on both those, and you can be proud of your leadership and also your members.
You know, it's always going to be some topic out there that comes up or some crisis that ACGA has the ability to round up the personnel, the people, make those relationships move forward, educate our opponents, and at the end of the day, protect the ranching industry from those things that are most threatening today. And although what might not be tomorrow was yesterday, they're always there. The Threatened and Endangered Species Act has, taken a cycle here of recent past that's just overwhelming. How can ranchers stay at home and do nothing and expect to get better just by building their relationship with that one ranger or range con that transfers week after next. You know, the turnover in the agencies is overwhelming. You have to have a voice of consistency and continuity and durability and be able to back it up with fact and follow through. And it doesn't make any difference what the challenge is today, yesterday, it'll be another one tomorrow.
A year or two ago, we hired an attorney, Norm James, who is an excellent attorney. He worked on comments that the Fish and Wildlife Service needed. Spent a lot of time, did some excellent work, and the Fish and Wildlife Service never gave us any feedback on his comments. That's pretty disgusting that our government wouldn't even come back to us with comments.
Well, in the beginning, 1998, when the wolves were first let out on the Blue, we didn't have an issue with it. I mean, we didn't have problems with their presence because they weren't here. But over the years, and especially as we've gotten into about the last 8 to 10 years, and the population has expanded and they've migrated out of that core area, the first time I really recognized the real presence of the wolf, I walked out my front door, and right here in that garden just to our left there, I walked out the front door and there sat 3 wolves right here in my yard.
I mean, I'm a no wolf person, but guess what? I got tons of them on me. I could sit there and say that all I want, but I got them. They're not going anywhere, so I could choose to sell out or deal with it and go work the programs like I'm doing and try to figure out what's going to work and what doesn't work. I think it was around winter time. We had a brand new baby colt that was born in our on our private property here in our horse barn, and we had a wolf come in and rip the back leg off of the new little stud colt that we had. It was difficult work, you know, not knowing that the wolves are around us. Nobody, you know, there was no communications between U.S. Fish and Wildlife or with Game and Fish or the Forest Service. Nobody knew anything about where the wolves were at. Or U.S. Fish and Wildlife knew, but they weren't letting anybody know what was going on and where they were.
I think it would go a long ways towards tolerance if ranchers, livestock producers, knew that in a situation where they needed to step up and protect their livestock from imminent danger, they had that option. It would probably go a long way in building some tolerance for the program. A lot of our survival and capacity to maintain the landscape as an operating landscape depends on our ability to be innovative, adaptive, and figure out techniques and strategies to be able to survive. And that's been the whole focus of our last 5 or 6 years, with finding winter pasture, changing the calving season, all those kinds of things. And when ranchers have wolves move onto the landscape, it's going to just be critical to create, innovate, whatever strategies that are going to allow them the capacity to survive. Because if these ranches aren't ranches, they're going to be condominiums. I mean, that's just a fact. A little over a year ago, I was contacted by the Cattle Growers Association about my participation and presence on the Livestock Loss Board, and since then have been confirmed by the governor to be on that board.
If you have issues, you better start calling, and call the cattle growers right off the top, and then it's Game and Fish. I mean, these are the allies that we have to pull together. I mean, if we don't get together and make this deal work, at first it was hard for me to work with the Game and Fish with all the elk issues and all the other endangered species issues that we had. It was hard for me. It was hard for me to cross that line. Work with Defenders of Wildlife? Are you kidding me?
A little over a year ago, our state did create what's known as the Livestock Loss Board, compensation for depredation, conflict avoidance, and so on.
For hay, watering, people that we have to put in place, fencing. There's a lot to it, but like I said, there's no compensation for it yet. And that's what we're hoping to see come through some kind of program. There's a new, the Arizona legislation came out with a new program. Hopefully our Arizona state legislation got something going for us, because we definitely need the help. I don't know if it's going to come government-wise, federal government, or our state government, but we definitely need some more funding.
Cattlemen have a terrific presence down here, even though there's none elected but myself. Few people understand that what a cow is, but the Cattle Growers Association has a huge influence. Patrick and Bass both are well known, well respected, and if there's something that's going on that they don't approve of, people ask and they listen to them. So we have a huge presence, and we're fortunate in that regard. This past year, we finally got more funding for higher ed, and we got the vet school, which was a battle. Change is hard to come by, but we got it through and got it passed, and the U of A Vet Med School is on its.
There's another thing that I'd like to cover with the membership. The Department of Ag is got a new director, as you well know. Last year, Mark Killian came on board, and he's trying to bring it up to speed. Hadn't had a director for several years, and he's done pretty well. He's looking for a new state veterinarian. As of yet, we haven't got one, but I think it is forthcoming. This is something that we need drastically in the cattle industry. Also, in the legislature this past year, in the Ag Omnibus bill, Patrick and Bass both worked with the Department of Ag and came out with something that's pretty beneficial to us all. Nobody likes the Form 7 books, but it's something that we have to do. And once you fill one out, you have to send in the 20 cents. That's been a hassle for years. So anyway, we've eliminated that.
Going to the state to transport our own cows from one pasture to another. So we went to the cattle growers and said, this is a major problem, not only for us personally, but for the cattle industry and the state, and this needed to be addressed. And so Patrick and Bass did a superb job of putting together an ag bill that got through the state legislature, which reorganized the whole inspection and recording, and did away with that charging for ranchers to go from one pasture to another. So that was a major benefit for ranchers in Arizona, as well as me personally. But so that's we can participate in identifying issues as a foundation.
All ranchers in Arizona ought to consider being members of ACGA, because they're a problem solution group. They're the only people that really represent exclusively the beef industry in the state of Arizona, and they're really good at it. They're our legislative voice. If you give them a problem, they do their best to solve it, and they're a really important entity in the state of Arizona.
Folks, in closing, I would like to thank you all for coming today and for the next few days. I think we have staff has put together a very, very good convention here. I hope that you learn a lot. Even if you come out with just one thing that you've learned new, that's a success. AGA, you got to remember, we're fighting for you all the time. We're here to help you out, and I appreciate you coming to the convention, and I hope you have a good time and enjoy yourselves. Thank you.